Robert Greene Ingersoll, the renowned American orator and freethinker of the 19th century, famously stated, "Our ignorance is God. What we know is science." This succinct statement encapsulates Ingersoll's perspective on the relationship between religion and science. Ignorance, in Ingersoll's view, is the fertile ground where religious belief takes root. It is the vast, unexplored terrain of the unknown. Science represents the steady march of knowledge, the gradual illumination of the universe through observation and rational inquiry. With each scientific breakthrough, ignorance recedes, replaced by verifiable truths. For Ingersoll, the pursuit of knowledge was a moral imperative, a testament to humanity's capacity for reason. This dichotomy between ignorance and knowledge forms the bedrock of Ingersoll's critique of religion. He saw organized religion as a system that thrived on ignorance. The more questions remained unanswered, the more space religion had to insert its own narratives. Ingersoll believed that the pursuit of knowledge was the true path to enlightenment. Through science and reason, humanity could shed ignorance and step into the light of understanding. Ingersoll reserved some of his most scathing critiques for the concept of a God who created the universe. The idea of a universe created by a supernatural entity struck him as deeply illogical. He argued that creation ex nihilo, something from nothing, was inherently paradoxical. If God existed before the universe, it wasn't created from nothing but from God. Ingersoll questioned the nature of a God who could create such a vast universe. Such a being would possess an intellect beyond human experience. Yet evidence of this grand design seemed absent in the natural world. The universe, as revealed by science, was chaotic and often brutal. The existence of suffering and natural disasters contradicted the notion of a benevolent creator. The question of how an immaterial God could interact with and shape a material universe posed another significant challenge to Ingersoll's understanding of the divine. He found the concept of an immaterial entity, such as a soul or a spirit, existing independently of a physical body to be equally perplexing. If the universe and everything within it, including human beings, were composed of matter and energy, then how could an immaterial God exert any influence on the material realm? This fundamental incompatibility between the material and the immaterial struck Ingersoll as an insurmountable obstacle for any coherent theological framework. He argued that the human mind, the seat of consciousness and thought, was inextricably linked to the physical structure of the brain. To suggest that the mind could exist independently of the brain was akin to suggesting that a symphony could exist independently of the instruments that played it. This materialist perspective underpinned Ingersoll's rejection of the soul's immortality, a central tenet of many religions. If the mind and the soul were products of the physical brain, then their existence would logically cease with the death of the body. Section 4. Eternal Damnation, a Stain on the Fabric of Morality. Ingersoll reserved some of his harshest criticisms for the doctrine of eternal punishment, a concept he found utterly abhorrent and morally reprehensible. The idea that a loving God would subject any of his creations to an eternity of suffering struck Ingersoll as not only cruel, but also fundamentally unjust. He argued that such a doctrine was incompatible with any notion of a benevolent deity and served only to instill fear and obedience in the hearts of believers. The threat of eternal damnation, Ingersoll believed, had a corrosive effect on human morality. It fostered a culture of judgment and condemnation, where individuals were encouraged to prioritize their own salvation above the well-being of others. It also created a climate of fear and intolerance, where those who deviated from the prescribed dogma were deemed worthy of eternal punishment. Section 5. Freethinkers and Believers, the Eagle and the Cage. Ingersoll often contrasted the lives and perspectives of freethinkers and believers, using the evocative metaphor of an eagle soaring through the sky versus a bird confined to a cage. The freethinker, like the eagle, was free to explore the vast expanse of knowledge, unconstrained by the limitations of dogma and superstition. The believer, on the other hand, was like the caged bird, its wings clipped by religious indoctrination, its horizons limited by the bars of its cage. Ingersoll believed that true freedom stemmed from the courage to question, to doubt, and to think for oneself. He saw freethinkers as the vanguard of progress, the individuals who dared to challenge the status quo and push the boundaries of human understanding. Believers, in Ingersoll's view, were often trapped in a cycle of blind faith and unquestioning obedience, their minds closed off to the liberating power of reason and scientific inquiry. He urged his audiences to break free from the shackles of dogma, to embrace the spirit of inquiry, and to soar to new heights of intellectual and moral enlightenment.